Very good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, it's evening. It's September of 1976. We are traveling back in time. September of 1976, a young teacher had just been appointed in Birla College, Kalyan. Those of you who are from Kalyan know about this. It was the beginning of the new 10 plus 2 plus 3 format. And Birla College did not have rooms for conducting lectures of class 11. So these were being held at Century Rayon School, Shahar, 3 kilometers away. This poor teacher had no home. And he lacked the funds to pay for deposit of a rental home. After spending 2 weeks as an unpaid guest at the Century Rayon guest house, he was politely asked to move out because the rules forbid an extension. Desperate for a place to stay, he appealed to his students to search for a place where he could stay. And at that time, he told them frankly that I will not be able to afford a deposit because abhi tak pehla pagar bhi nahi hua hai. The next day, a student walks up to his teacher and says, "Sir, you can stay in my house free of cost. We can provide you a corner." But there is a catch. That student's father was a gardener in the local crematorium, Shamshan Ghat, of Maharal village on the outskirts of Shahar. And this boy's house was right inside the crematorium. Also, there was no electricity in that house. There were 6 other occupants in that house, which was hardly half the size of this stage. But beggars cannot be choosers. And the teacher immediately accepted the offer and shifted residence. The sole source of light in that entire crematorium was a sodium vapor lamp on a pole, which was right next to the spot where the dead bodies used to be burned on the funeral pyre. Now this determined teacher used to sit under that lamp to prepare the notes for his next day's lectures because he was educated in the vernacular medium and he used to sit with books and dictionaries to translate everything for the next day's lectures. Oh yeah, around 7 p.m. suddenly this lamp would go off without warning. And the whole place would be engulfed into pitch black darkness. Flicking on his feeble torch, the teacher would gather his books quickly and start walking 400 meters away to his humble abode. He had to be careful because the place was full of slithering snakes. There were bats chattering, owls hooting, and not very far away, there was also the call of a jackal and hyenas. On reaching to that spot, he used to occupy that corner and fall into a tired sleep after a laborious day. This ritual lasted 4 months till he found a place as a paying guest in a chawl at Kalyan. And during these 4 months, his early dinner, I need to tell you that also, his early dinner used to consist of misal pav worth 5 rupees for the first 10 days. Watery usal pav worth rupees 3 for the next 10. And suka mirchi ka bhajia and pav for the last 10. That's all he could afford. Now, how do I know all these details about this man? Ladies and gentlemen, the man I'm referring to, a teacher of teachers, a stalwart, is none other than my father, respected Vilas Shete, sir. And all that I have told you is the story of his life, how he began. He became a legend in his own right. For the next 30 plus years, Shete sir taught and guided and created careers of thousands of students, many of whom have been placed across the world, run successful businesses, or also are corporate leaders. Much to Shete sir's joy, many of his students are also successful teachers. What more could a teacher ask for? And all of his students, including myself, ye mere bhi Guruji, including myself, we credit Shete sir for creating in us a strong desire for knowledge, a strong thirst for teaching with the basics, learning with the why, and most importantly, never say die spirit. Now, many people must have been thinking in my earlier days also that this boy must have been, boy, pehle ka. This boy must have been mentored to be a teacher right since his student days. Well, that's far from the truth. Even though my mom and dad both are teachers, I was never programmed to be a teacher. In fact, they both allowed me to explore. The best thing that they did as parents was give me freedom. So I was preparing for a corporate career. I was getting ready to do my MBA when suddenly tragedy struck. My father's business suffered a severe setback. And at that time, teaching chose me. It was as if I was destined to become a teacher. As soon as I got that opportunity, I took to it like a fish takes to water. And I'm very blessed that I was taught by great teachers and loved by my students. So I learned from both the places. Most important thing that everyone should understand, guys, is you are never too big to learn from anyone. You can learn even from your juniors. And I will like to tell all the youngsters here, never try to copy anyone. If I would have tried to copy my illustrious father, I would have been a fake. Always try to be the best version of yourself. Now, in the last 21 years that I have been a teacher, I have met some amazing survivors. People who take the leap of faith. People who overcome a lot of odds. One of them was Madhura, a class 12 student who was writing her exams, during which her father suffered a massive heart attack and died on the spot. Our teachers immediately went and counseled her and explained to her that you should not discontinue your papers. That is not what your father would want. Thankfully, the emotional appeal worked and Madhura decided to continue. But picturize the scene. Your dear father's cold body is lying on the floor. Your distraught mother is sitting next to the body, completely lost, her eyes wet with tears, completely swollen. And every time a visitor walks in, the dam bursts. There's a lot of chaos, emotional turmoil, and in the middle of this, you write your exam, knowing fully well that when you come back, you have to say bye-bye, goodbye to your darling father. But that's what Madhura did, and she passed with flying colors. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Another colleague, thank you. My friend and colleague Amit Munde is another example of a fantastic fighter. He was sincerely preparing for his second year, third year degree exams when his father, a driver with Maharashtra State Electricity Board, was standing outside his vehicle while a 200-kilo transformer was being overhauled to its assembly. Suddenly one of the ropes snapped and the transformer fell down on Mr. Munde, completely crushing his back. Months were spent in the hospital, and on one of the visits, his senior offered the job to young Amit. But through the IV tubes, Mr. Munde ferociously wrote, "Mera beta driver बनने के लिए पैदा नहीं हुआ है." My son did not take birth to be a driver. Inspired by his father's faith in him, Amit dived deeper into his studies, finished his post-graduation, got a degree in law, and also became a qualified company secretary. Today, Amit Munde, a 10th standard Marathi medium boy from a lower middle class family, is the head company secretary of Asia's largest real estate firm. He is responsible for legal compliances of 52 group companies. Winners always find ways, always. The third, and perhaps the most closest to my heart, the example that I would like to share with you is of two of my students. In fact, I would express my gratitude to the universe for allowing me a chance to teach Kumar Saroshi and Josefa Tambawala. These students, both boys, lost their sight at a very young age, but not their vision. Sight gayi, but vision nahi gayi. They used to sit in the class with regular students with a recording device in hand on the first bench, all senses completely focused, their ears fogged up, and I am proud to say that they did not just pass their exams, they inspired all their batchmates and they inspired their teachers as well. Kumar used to even come from a rural place called Raite, which is like 10 or 12 kilometers away, traveling in public transport. Now this guy from a very poor background, this guy from a middle class family, educated background, being a brilliant student, Kumar also decided to get into music. He's gifted with a magical voice, and he also creates a lot of love with music. And Josefa is working in an IT firm as a software tester. They do not need sympathy. All they need is an opportunity. Coming to the second phase of my journey. This was about my journey as a teacher, now my journey as an offbeat traveler. I have met some wonderful survivors throughout the world. I have traveled to many places in India as well as abroad. The Maasais, wonderful Maasais of Kenya, the hardy mountain folk of the Himalayas, the farmers and tribals of Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Rajasthan. All these people have common challenges. They are faced with very, very unpredictable climatic conditions, severe drought, poverty, sometimes exploited by the system, and always being challenged by the elements. But you will rarely find more happy people. They're always joyous, they're always smiling, and most importantly, they're always ready to share. During the Everest Base Camp trek, and before that, I would like to mention that ये सब लोगों ने क्या सिखाया? Tough times do not last, but tough people do. And when life throws unexpected challenges at them, they do not whine. Why me? Instead, they chin up and say, try me. You and I are far more blessed than these people. A special mention to this lady from Australia. During the Everest Base Camp trek in 2018, we met Sue. Sue was from Australia, a 64-year-old breast cancer survivor. And she was there to reach the base camp along with her daughter, her 40-year-old daughter. We were so happy and thrilled to meet her that the cancer could not defeat her. But 2 days after that, we bumped into her group again, and we came to know that Sue was finding it very difficult to continue because of the high altitude. Her body had become weak, and she may not be able to continue traveling and completing her trek. Well, we felt sorry for her, but we could pray. That's all we could do. We reached the Everest Base Camp at 5,340 meters, and 2 days after that, when we were on our way down, what do we see? This gutsy lady climbing up with her porter. In her own words, if I could say, well, the chemotherapy and cancer weakened my body, but not my spirit. I may not get a chance again to come back to the Himalayas all the way from Australia. So I just decided to push myself a bit more. She deserves a round of applause. Hats off to her in that particular. Well, what do these people have in common? What do these people, right from my father to the Masai Mara to Kumar and Josefa and this lady from Australia, what do all of them have in common? A super strong will. A will to survive, a will to never give up, a will to ensure that they smile even in the toughest situations, a will to rise like a phoenix from their own ashes. When everything seems lost, these guys open their wings of fire and they take off. Now, does it mean to learn the art of survival, we must go through crushing defeats or face severe setbacks? Or have a loved one taken away from us? No, not at all. Do you have any idea which is the toughest exam that any one of us passed? Was it boards? 10th standard, 12th standard? No. Chartered accountancy? No. MBBS or IIT entrance exams? Not at all. The toughest, most difficult, life-threatening, challenging, mind-blowing exam that all persons in this room have appeared for and have passed with flying colors without help from any teacher, any books or any important question sets. Taking the first breath after being born. Just imagine this. For 9 months you were floating in your mother's womb, free of any worries and tensions, being fed ready-made food and everything that was required through that cord which connected you to your mom. No tension at all. Suddenly one day you are violently pushed out. Nobody even asked you. You are violently pushed out into a room full of lights, blinding lights, full of masked men and women. There was no COVID then, so people were used to masks. So full of masked men and women, and as your body adjusts to the cold labor room, you realize something is missing. Your brain tells you it is the oxygen. And no, the lack of oxygen. Something that was available in abundant supply in that safe cocoon. and your survival instinct kicks in, and you are quickly directed to breathe in a lung full of oxygen, and that humongous effort is so much, hello, that your fragile body cannot take it, and you let out a loud cry. That is the sweet sound that everybody is waiting to listen to. As soon as you cry, everyone in that room and outside hug each other, cry tears of joy, give high fives, because a survivor has arrived. If you could pass that examination at zero minutes or 0 hours of your life without any guide, without anything except your survival instinct, my dear friends, why be afraid of the challenges that life throws at you? Normally we get time to prepare for them. Many a time we forget that we are born survivors. We lose the plot and we just drag ourselves through life. To such people, I have one simple message: stop existing, start living. It's extremely important to understand that we have one life. Let's make the most of it. Let's not crib, let's not whine, let's not repent. No regrets. Because what you wanted to do then, you did it. Now don't repent. And even if somebody forced you to do something against your will, unfortunately, promise yourself that such a day is never going to come back in my life. And I will be my boss, I will be my ruler, and I will laugh a lot, smile a lot, spread a lot of joy, because we have this one birth. I don't know about a rebirth or something. They say that the past is history, the future is mystery. What we have today is a gift, and that is why it is called present. Let's make the most of it. Let's live it, love it, enjoy it. As an accountancy teacher, I like to express the same words in different way. Yesterday is a lost check. Tomorrow is a promissory note. May or may not be honored. Today is cash in hand. Let's use it wisely. So my dear friends, let's leave behind a legacy such that even after we have been gone for 100 years, people remember us through our words, through our actions, and through the people and lives that we touched. Because where there is a will, there are ways. Thank you.